Hey everybody, how's it going? My name is Dustin Ponder. I'm making a short video here for our package drivers in the South Center over at Baymeadows. For those of you that don't know, we're having a steward election coming up this Friday, March the 12th. It's going to be held from 7:30 till 10 a.m. in the morning. It's going to be just inside the guard shack. So if you're a dues paying Teamster, I'm encouraging you, try and show up 15, 20 minutes early. Take the time to vote. Now, as most of you know, our center got split up over the last year, so we're kind of a small center right now. So every vote is going to count. If you want to see a change in union representation, a union that actually fights for package drivers and protects your rights, I'm going to need you to take the time to get involved, get educated, and to come out on Friday and vote for change. As most of you know, I am running. There's going to be two other candidates that are also running. So I just want to talk briefly about my philosophy as a steward and what I'm going to bring to the table if you elect me to represent you as kind of the chief steward in the center. Most of you in the past are familiar dealing with kind of the package stewards that we've had who've been unelected. You know, they kind of go in the office, they let management grill you, they let management walk all over you, harass you, threaten you with discipline, and do all kinds of stuff. Many times they're not taking notes, they're not building any kind of case, they're not doing that. I have a totally different philosophy. I was trained in New York City where I served as a steward in Local 804, where I was taught by the best of the best. Now, what a steward is supposed to do in the office is to fight for you and to be your advocate. Now, what that means is that every time you're in the office, the shop steward is in there taking notes, asking questions, building a case for your grievance. Now, I have a lot of experience. I've been a steward for over 6 years between New York and Jacksonville. That's over half of my UPS career. I filed hundreds of grievances, done hundreds of investigations for members, won thousands of dollars. And under my watch, I've never had a member lose a suspension or discharge grievance in 6 years. Now, it's really key for folks to understand that how the grievance procedure actually works. Now, I'm going to talk briefly about discipline. If you are brought in the office for an investigatory interview, it has to, and they try and issue you discipline, it has to be for what is called just cause. Now, if you look in your union contract book under Article 52, you'll see the saying, there shall only be discipline for just cause in the case of suspension and discharge. Now, just cause has 7 legal principles. They're called the 7 tests of just cause. And your steward should inform you and educate you about what those mean. So, you know, it's basically 7 principles that discipline has to meet to stick. Your manager could write you up because he says, I don't like, I don't like your hair, whatever it is. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to stick if you file a grievance and challenge it. It's going to be based on does it meet the criterion of the 7 tests of just cause. Stuff like that was there a proper notice posted of a rule? Management can't just make up a rule on the fly and say they're going to discipline you for it. It's got to be in the handbook. It's got to be consistently enforced. Can't be something that for 2 years management's not enforcing, then out of the blue they say they're going to write you up. That's not going to stick. The employee has to know the consequences, and there has to be an investigation before they can issue the discipline. That means they can't just say, well, I think you did this, I'm going to discipline you. They have to investigate it. That investigation has to be free and fair. It can't be a biased investigation. Beyond that, there has to be substantial proof that you were actually guilty of whatever they're alleging. Then in addition to that, it has to be consistently enforced. If you missed 1 day a year, you called out, and there's 5 other guys that have called out 20 times, and they try and write you up, but not those guys, that discipline's not going to stick because it hasn't been consistently enforced. Finally, the punishment has to fit the crime. That's going to be weighed on the past instances of grievances and cases. They can't slap one guy on the wrist for something and then completely terminate another guy for the same offense. There's kind of a precedent set, and this is important. A steward needs to know this. He needs to communicate this with his members. And I'll just tell you guys, if you elect me, what you're going to have is a shop steward who every time you're in the office is going to be taking notes and building a case, whether it's around discipline or it's an aggressive grievance, whether it's a case of wage theft, safety issues, harassment. You deserve a steward who's going to advocate for you, investigate your grievance, be knowledgeable and be with you every step of the way, not somebody who just rolls over to management or just hands you a grievance form and says good luck. And that's going to require having an experienced shop steward. Beyond that, I wanted to talk a little bit about, some of the philosophical differences. If you call me to represent you, some of you have experienced it in the past. I'm not going to go in there and let you get blindsided by management. You have certain rights, and those include caucusing with your steward. What I like to do, we go in the office, we ask management, what is this meeting about? They have to tell the member and the steward what the investigatory interview is about. At that point, you need to say time out. You have the right to caucus with your union steward, and it's always a good idea before the proper investigation goes to step outside. That way your shop steward can talk to you about the contract language, whether it's Article 18 safety, whether it's Article 17 paid for time, Article 21 retaliation for union activity, Article 37 harassment, 9.5, all that jazz. We can go over that. We can go over the facts of what happened, and I can prepare you basically for what's going to go on in that interview. Also, if you got caught up, if there's any issues in the interview, you can say time out and step out and we can talk about it. Most stewards don't educate our members about that right, and they don't use it. And it's a disaster if that's not being used. All the time we're going to do that. And in fact, after a meeting, I like to do a post-caucus with the member and explain the contract issues, how we can handle it, give you the range of options that are best going to represent you going forward. So that's kind of a little bit of the philosophy of how I do things, how I'm going to fight for you as a member. Beyond that, I've been a longtime advocate for package drivers. We're going to be fighting in the next contract for protections for 22-4s and future package drivers. There's a lot of issues coming up on a national level that it's going to be important that we have a strong political advocate in the union for package drivers. Out in Texas, they started putting surveillance in package cars. We got the constant issues that are going on right now in our center around wage theft. I want to take those on head on and make sure our members are protected. So you're going to have somebody who's an active advocate, not just on the shop floor, but in the union as a whole that's fighting for package drivers. I've been very active on the national scene fighting during contract fights, whether it's going all around the state. And we plan on doing the same thing here in the South Center. I want to make sure you have a voice in the union and that your voice is heard. Beyond that, my goal is to kind of build a strong team up in the Baymeadows building. I like Raynell Killian a lot. He's reelected by acclamation over in the East Center. He's a great steward. He's taking a lot of the philosophies that I've applied and using them, and I think a lot of members are very happy. So I would like to have a whole team of stewards like that. We have a new alternate steward in the South Center, Rick Monroe, and then we're going to have an alternate election in the Baymeadows East Center. But we need to build up a team of knowledgeable union members who stand up and defend each other. As many of you may remember, we stood up for package drivers in the South last year, especially the young cats, who were being, 4-6 reports, all that stuff. I spoke up, I stood up to Naveed and Gretchen. I'm not afraid to do it. If the members ask me to, I will fight for you. And I plan to kind of regularly meet with the guys and girls and basically come up with a strategy of what you guys want for the center. If there's an issue, I'm not retiring anytime soon. I'm not afraid to take on management. I'm not afraid to take on Carlos. I'm not afraid to take on, your Meath or whoever. Just recently, I filed federal labor charges on Carlos for violating federal labor law. The labor board found merit. And even when the union's necessarily not fighting for our package drivers, you have a lot of rights, and I'll be there to educate you every step of the way. So I just want to encourage our members, I hope you support me on Friday. Take 2 seconds, pop in early and vote. Come in before start time. It's secret ballot. Nobody's going to know how you voted. Take the time to vote. If you have any questions, concerns, or you just want to give me some input on what you'd like to see as a member, my phone is always open. My phone number is area code 917-946-6430. Feel free to call me anytime. I'm a 24-hour-a-day steward, so if you give me a ring, if you have any issues, you need help with a grievance, you need a grievance form, feel free to call me. And I hope we can basically build a fighting strong union in our center and also in our building. So thank you all for taking the time to watch this, and I look forward to seeing you all on Friday.